You are born inside a cup the size of a thimble, hanging 10 meters above the ground with no railing, no roof, and no emergency exit. Your eyes are sealed shut, your skin is almost naked. Your neck can barely support your head, and whenever the branch moves, your entire world tilts with it. Welcome to life as a ruby-throated hummingbird, where being unbelievably small is not a charming personality trait. It is a full-time mechanical failure waiting to happen. Your mother built the nest from plant fluff, lichen, and stolen spider silk. The silk holds everything together while allowing the walls to stretch as you grow. This is excellent engineering, especially considering the builder has a brain smaller than a pea and no hardware store. It is also the only reason you and your sibling are not immediately squeezed out of the nest like toothpaste. For the next 3 weeks, your job is simple. Open your mouth whenever the branch shakes. It could be your mother returning with food. It could also be wind, rain, a squirrel, or a snake. You open your mouth anyway because you are blind, hungry, and currently shaped like an angry pink bean. Your mother feeds you a mixture of nectar and tiny insects. Nectar supplies rapid energy, but insects provide the protein needed to build muscles, feathers, organs, and the flying machinery that will soon consume nearly every calorie you can find. She must gather all of it alone. Your father contributed his genes, displayed his shiny red throat, and then left the entire construction, incubation, feeding, and security department to her. Nature has several million years of experience inventing deadbeat dads. While she is away, you cannot defend yourself. A jay can empty the nest. A squirrel can reach the branch. Heavy rain can soak your insulation and drain your heat. Even a cold night is dangerous because your body is tiny, your surface area is large, and warmth escapes from you with insulting efficiency. Your survival plan is camouflage. The outside of the nest is covered with lichen, so it resembles a knot on the branch. You sit still and hope every predator fails an eye examination. If nothing eats you, freezes you, or knocks you out of the tree, feathers finally cover your body. The nest stretches until it looks less like a cup and more like an overfilled laundry basket. Then, around 3 weeks after hatching, the rules change. Yesterday, falling from the nest meant death. Today, you are expected to jump. Your first flight does not look like the elegant hovering people film in slow motion. You launch, drop, panic, and beat your wings as if trying to escape your own body. Somehow the air catches you. Your wings sweep forward and back through a tilted arc, producing lift on both strokes, though most of it comes from the downstroke. The shoulder joint rotates far more freely than in most birds, letting you stop, hover, reverse, and move sideways. This is less like flying and more like operating a biological helicopter whose engine is attached directly to your heart. The wings of a ruby throat may beat roughly 50 times each second during ordinary hovering. Your heart can race above 1,000 beats per minute during intense activity. Oxygen moves through you at a ridiculous pace. Sugar from nectar can be routed into working muscles within minutes. You are not storing fuel for later. You are buying energy and spending it while the receipt is still printing. Your mother shows you where to feed, but nobody can insert your bill into a flower for you. The first attempt goes above the petals. The second hits the side. The third gets your face dusted with pollen. Eventually, your bill enters the tube and your long tongue flicks rapidly through the nectar. A mouthful of sugar arrives, your muscles receive a temporary budget, and you immediately need another flower. This is the central scam of being a hummingbird. Your flight system gives you access to food that many animals cannot reach, but the system is so expensive that you need the food largely to pay for reaching the food. You will take many small meals throughout the day, sometimes consuming nectar equal to a substantial fraction of your body mass. But nectar is mostly sugar and water. It cannot build everything you need, so between flowers you hunt gnats, mosquitoes, fruit flies, aphids, and spiders. Sometimes you snatch insects from the air. Sometimes you steal them from leaves or webs. You are a jewel-colored pollinator with the diet of a tiny airborne exterminator. At least you do not fly continuously. That would burn energy faster than you could replace it. Much of your day is spent perched, digesting, watching, and calculating whether the next trip is worth the cost. You remember where flowers are, which ones contain the richest nectar, and when recently emptied flowers are likely to refill. Experiments have shown that hummingbirds can learn different refill schedules and return at the profitable time. So your brain is running a map, a timetable, and an energy market. All of this fits inside a skull that could hide behind a grape. Then another hummingbird enters your flower patch. You could share. There may be enough nectar for both of you. Sharing would reduce the energy wasted in combat. It would also violate every emotional principle you possess. You explode off the perch and chase the intruder through the garden. Both of you climb, dive, break, reverse, and stab with your bills. You weigh about as much as a small coin, yet you behave like a fighter jet defending national airspace. Hummingbirds routinely challenge birds much larger than themselves, not because they believe they are huge, but because controlling a reliable food patch can determine whether they have enough energy to survive the day. Victory still costs fuel. Every second spent fighting is a second not spent feeding. Chase too many rivals and your defended territory becomes an expensive restaurant where the security guard eats the entire profit. And the flowers are not safe. Bees and wasps compete for nectar. Orb-weaving spiders place nets between flight paths. Large frogs, lizards, and predatory birds can take a hummingbird that approaches at the wrong angle. A praying mantis can remain motionless beside a feeder or flower, looking like part of the plant until its forelegs fire. Your speed protects you only when you detect the threat early. At close range, there may be no time to accelerate. One moment you are approaching breakfast. The next, breakfast has hands. Even without predators, weather can shut down your economy. Rain makes flight harder and reduces insect activity. Wind pushes your tiny body away from flowers. Cold raises the cost of staying warm just as nectar becomes harder to find. Extreme heat is also dangerous. Hovering produces enormous metabolic heat, but feathers limit how quickly it escapes, forcing you to rely partly on evaporative cooling. You can lose water while surrounded by liquid food. Nature enjoys complicated jokes. Eventually, evening arrives. Flowers stop being useful in the dark, insects disappear, and the air cools. You cannot spend the entire night feeding, but your normal metabolism is too expensive to run until sunrise. Your solution is torpor. On nights when energy is tight, your body turns itself down. Metabolic rate can fall dramatically, sometimes by more than 90%. Body temperature drops toward the surrounding air. Breathing slows. Heart rate collapses from daytime extremes to a tiny fraction of its active pace. To a person holding you, you might appear dead. You are not dead. You have simply selected the hummingbird version of airplane mode. This saves enough energy to reach morning, but it creates a new problem. A torpid hummingbird cannot react normally. You cling to the perch while darkness moves around you. An owl, snake, or climbing mammal does not need to outrun you now. It only needs to locate you. Your greatest weapon has been disabled, so the engine will still contain fuel tomorrow. Before dawn, the engine restarts. Muscles shiver. Heart and breathing rates climb. Body temperature rises. Arousal can take tens of minutes and consumes part of the energy torpor saved. By the time you can fly, your reserves are low and your first decision has already been made. Find sugar. You launch toward the best flower you remember. If it was emptied by another bird, damaged by rain, or closed by the cold, you pay the travel cost and receive nothing. This is why memory matters. A hummingbird that repeatedly visits empty flowers is not merely inefficient. It is performing a small, beautiful bankruptcy. As summer advances, you grow more aggressive and more obsessed with food. Your body begins preparing for a journey you have never made. Day length changes, hormones shift, and you eat beyond ordinary maintenance. Fat accumulates under your skin. A bird that normally weighs around 3 grams may add a large percentage of its body mass before migration, and some individuals nearly double it. For most animals, gaining that much weight would make travel harder. For you, the weight is the travel plan. Then you leave. No parent leads you. There is no experienced flock arranging itself into a helpful V. Ruby-throated hummingbirds migrate individually, and your first route south is guided by inherited instructions, environmental cues, and a brain that has never seen the destination. Every stop becomes an argument over flowers. You feed, defend, gain fat, and move again. A cold front can help carry you south. A headwind can erase hours of progress. Storms can push you offshore. Windows reflect open sky and turn a full-speed flight into a collision with an invisible wall. Outdoor cats wait near gardens where exhausted birds must feed low. Pesticides remove the insects that supply your protein. Human landscapes provide feeders and flowers, then surround them with glass, chemicals, and ambush points. Hospitality is mixed. Eventually, you reach the northern edge of the Gulf of Mexico. Some ruby-throats follow the coast. Others launch across open water. If you take the direct route, several hundred miles of ocean lie ahead. There are no flowers. There are no branches. There is no place to correct a bad decision. You leave near dusk and fly into darkness. The fat stored across your body begins disappearing into muscle power. Your wings repeat the same motion tens of thousands of times, then hundreds of thousands. The coastline behind you vanishes. The coastline ahead does not exist yet. This flight is not proof that a hummingbird is stronger than a storm. It is proof that the crossing works when the weather remains inside a narrow range. A favorable wind saves energy. A headwind increases time aloft. Heavy rain removes lift and heat. If fuel reaches zero before land appears, your precision, memory, aggression, and beautiful red throat become irrelevant. The Gulf does not care how advanced your shoulder joints are. Occasionally, exhausted hummingbirds land on offshore platforms or boats where workers may offer sugar, water, and a place to rest. For the bird, this is not a heartwarming friendship with humanity. It is an emergency fuel station that mysteriously appeared in the ocean. Drink first. Investigate miracles later. If you reach land, your first action is exactly what it was after your first cold night. Find sugar. You rebuild your reserves one flower at a time, then continue toward wintering grounds in Mexico or Central America. There you discover that paradise already has residents, and they also dislike sharing. Months later, you reverse the journey. Feed, fight, store fat, fly north, cross water or follow the coast. Return to a landscape that has changed while your spatial memory searches for old feeding sites. Some hummingbirds have even been observed checking places where feeders existed the previous year. Your brain remembers the restaurant. Humans have moved the building. If you are male, you establish a breeding territory and flash your ruby throat at females. The feathers are not actually filled with red pigment. Their microscopic structure reflects specific wavelengths, so the throat can blaze red at one angle and look almost black at another. You perform looping courtship flights, buzz past the female, and advertise the quality of your flight machinery. If she accepts, your reward is reproduction. Her reward is doing every difficult part alone. She builds the nest, lays 2 tiny eggs, incubates them, and feeds the chicks while you return to fighting over flowers. Congratulations. You have become the father from the beginning of the story. Most hummingbirds will not receive many years to repeat this cycle. A few survive far longer than expected. The oldest known wild ruby-throated hummingbird was a female at least 9 years and 2 months old when researchers recaptured and released her. That record is impressive, but it is not a warranty. Each additional year requires thousands of successful feeding decisions, hundreds of cold nights, 2 long migrations, and repeated escapes from predators, storms, glass, and simple bad luck. Across the Americas, more than 360 hummingbird species have evolved different sizes, bills, colors, elevations, and migration strategies. Some live in tropical forests. Some survive cold mountain nights. The bee hummingbird is smaller than you. The rufous hummingbird travels farther relative to its body size, but all of them operate some version of the same dangerous bargain: extreme control in exchange for extreme energy demand. You can hover in a space smaller than a dinner plate. You can fly backward, break in midair, remember a map of flowers, convert sugar directly into flight, slow your metabolism until you resemble a dead leaf, and cross an ocean on fuel stored beneath skin thinner than paper. None of this makes your life easy. It only makes your impossible life possible. Every morning begins with a nearly empty tank. Every flower may already be empty. Every rival wants your route. Many cold nights force you to switch off the machine that keeps you safe. Every migration asks a 3-gram body to gamble against the weather. And if you survive all of it, you do not earn retirement. You earn another sunrise, another territory, another crossing, and another urgent trip to the nearest flower. Because the first rule you learned before you could even see is still the only rule that matters. Open your mouth, find the sugar, keep the engine running.